The airport was crowded, loud, and impatient, the kind of place where no one really sees anyone. But in the middle of the noise, a young woman stood quietly in line at the security checkpoint, her eyes tired but calm. Her duffel bag was worn, her jacket plain, and her stance, but straight, steady, and composed, was the only thing that gave away a hint of who she was. As she handed over her ID, the guard on duty looked at it, then looked back at her, confusion flickering in his eyes. He frowned slightly, then asked for her military ID again. She gave it to him without hesitation, but the doubt in his eyes deepened, and then, with a tone meant to challenge, not confirm, he said the words that had followed her for years. "You'll have to prove you're military." Her name was Captain Ava Brooks, and though she didn't look like the soldier people expected, no sharp jawline, no booming voice, no heavy boots, she carried something far heavier. The war had taken pieces of her that no one could see, and left behind medals that she never wore. She had been part of an elite medevac unit, flying into fire to pull the wounded out, and in one night of chaos she had saved 12 lives before her own chopper went down. The crash left her with scars she covered and memories she couldn't. The Army called her a hero. The world called her something else. A woman with a nice story. The guard tapped his fingers against the counter, unimpressed. She could see the disbelief in his eyes. Not anger, just ignorance. She'd seen it before. He didn't mean harm. He just couldn't picture someone like her in uniform. Her calm voice explained she'd served, that she was on her way to speak at a veterans event. Still, he asked to see proof. And something in her chest ached. Not because of the question itself, but because she'd spent years trying to prove things that couldn't be seen. Her courage, her losses, her worth. The line behind her was growing restless, and she could feel the weight of a dozen stares pressing against her back. But instead of arguing, Ava quietly placed her duffel bag on the counter, unzipped it, and lifted out a small wooden case. It was old, the hinges scratched, the corners slightly cracked. When she opened it, the sound seemed to still the air around her. Inside, nestled in faded velvet, were the medals, silver, bronze, ribbons of color that had once been pinned to her chest under a burning sun. The guard froze. The nearest passengers leaned closer without realizing it. Inside that case was a story too heavy for words. The Distinguished Flying Cross, the Purple Heart, the Air Medal with Valor device, and the photo tucked underneath them. A squad smiling before a mission that half of them wouldn't return from. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. The medal spoke for her. The guard's eyes softened as realization hit. His face turned pale, his voice caught halfway between guilt and apology. He cleared his throat, handed her ID back, and managed a quiet, "Thank you." But Ava didn't respond with bitterness or pride. She simply nodded, closed the case gently, and tucked it back into her bag like something sacred. To her, those medals weren't for display. They were the echoes of 12 lives, 12 brothers and sisters who never came home. She passed through security and kept walking, her steps slow but unwavering. The whispers behind her were a mixture of awe and shame, but she didn't turn back. She'd learned long ago that the world often questions quiet strength, the kind that doesn't announce itself but endures everything. When she reached her gate, she sat by the window overlooking the runway. Planes came and went, their engines roaring like thunder, and in that sound she heard the ghosts of her past missions. The sky was both her battlefield and her home. For a long while she just watched, her reflection faintly visible in the glass. A soldier without a uniform, a hero without applause. Later that evening, she stood before an auditorium filled with young cadets. They expected speeches about courage, leadership, or victory. But she spoke of something else, the quiet kind of bravery that doesn't need to be seen, the strength to rise again after being broken, and the honor that lives in silence. When she finished, the hall was quiet, not from indifference but reverence. Then the applause came, not the loud, celebratory kind, but the deep, respectful one that comes from the heart. That night, as Ava walked outside beneath the stars, she thought about the guard at the airport, about how many times people like her, women, veterans, quiet heroes, and had been asked for proof. And she smiled faintly, because the truth was she didn't need to prove anything anymore. The sky above her knew. The wind that once carried her through fire knew, and so did the souls of the 12 she'd saved. She looked up at the night sky, whispered a soft thank you to them, and kept walking. Somewhere behind her in that same airport, the guard still remembered her face well, and the case that had spoken louder than words ever could. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Legends of History, where we honor the courage, silence, and strength of real heroes whose stories deserve to be remembered. Comment below. What part of Ava's story moved you most? The silence she carried, the scars she hid, or the moment her medals spoke for her?